Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten. In this episode, we're talking about the over it list. And this is something I came up with when I was doing some writing and creating some content for my program portal, is how many things that we do as women start with the word over. And so I want to talk about what we are over and how we actually move through that. Before I dive into that, I want to point you toward a new space that I've created for women who are trying to get clarity on whether to stay or leave their relationships through self-empowerment, through stepping into their next level identity, and being able to identify the patterns that can be changed potentially or the ones that absolutely cannot, so that you stop wasting time spinning your wheels talking about the same issues over and over with no change. There are two tiers to the Clarity membership, and you can get more information on both of those in the show notes. The first one, overfunctioning. And this really is saying, I'll carry more so everything works. I'll do it because no one else is going to do it if I don't do it. And how this shows up for high-level women is that we take responsibility for other people's feelings, emotions, reactions, outcomes. We take responsibility for it all. We end up trying to lead everything, fix everything, manage everything, and initiate all of the things that need to be done. And we will find that we do this in all of our relationships, but it does primarily show up in a partnership. And typically we are the emotional adult in the room. We're trying to regulate the emotions of everyone in the room. And overfunctioning is really just outsourced safety. We talk about self-sourcing in this community, and overfunctioning is how we are feeling safe, because then at least it feels like we have some kind of control over what's going on, even though it's an illusion. We never actually have control, but we have the illusion and belief that that is what's happening. And then at the nervous system level, on that emotional, energetic level, we tell ourselves things like, well, if I stay useful, if I'm needed, or I'm the competent one, then I won't be abandoned because I'll always be the needed one. I definitely went through this a lot in my 20s and 30s, big time. And I can say that I have really curbed nearly all of these things. And what I want to say too, when we are operating in these 4 over it lists, these 4 overdoing behaviors, is that it impacts our health. And as women in our 40s and beyond, when we are operating in these overdoing type of ways, it will show up in our hormonal system. It will show up in a hormonal crash. And then this leads to thyroid issues, autoimmune potentially, definitely hormone havoc, period issues, weird period patterns, heavy bleeding, bad menstrual cycles, emotional volatility that week before. It's already a tumultuous time because our body is like basically going in reverse puberty. And so it's already happening that way. But when we add on, of course, things like our environment, toxins, what we're eating, just there's so many levels. But I think the biggest, honestly, yes, we need to eat well. Yes, we need to move our bodies every day. We all know that. We need to make sure we're getting good sleep. But if we're doing all of that and our emotional life is shit, then all of that other stuff, really, it's like not really going to touch much of what's going on. This is the unfortunate piece. So we have to actually do the hard work. That is the emotional work, the deep work. When you are in the overfunctioning patterns, what happens is that you are more prone to attracting those underfunctioning passive partners, which is probably what you're dealing with if you're here listening. Because it locks you into that role as the strong one, the competent one. I've got this, because you want to be seen as strong. You want to be seen as competent, like you can handle everything, and you can. But then what happens is it prevents that reciprocity, that polarity that's really sexy and really magnetic in a relationship. Because if you're in a relationship with a man who does not have any leadership instincts or desire to be a healthy leader, and I mean a healthy leader, I'm not talking about control and dominance, I'm talking about healthy leadership, which means that you don't have to take over the role of overfunctioning and getting everything done because you're basically dealing with like a man-child that can't do anything. That's different. So when we're looking at this and we have to shift the identity from I must hold everything together to I have to build trust in myself and others to meet me halfway. And if I'm in relationships that are not able to meet me halfway, what am I even doing? What am I even doing in situations that are not? And number 2 is over-explaining. And over-explaining is saying, if I explain it better, I'll be understood and accepted. Again, safety. We're always seeking safety of some kind. Safety of not being abandoned or rejected. So when we're in over-explaining, this shows up a lot for the women I work with, is it's justifying and over-explaining your boundaries. It's giving a lot of backstory for your decisions. We feel like we have to explain and over-explain and give paragraphs long explanation. And one of the things that I've learned, because I used to be like this, is oftentimes when I'm about to write something, I will go back again and rework all of what I just wrote and cut it down like at least by half. So this is a really good way to practice this. So if you know you have to set a boundary or explain something or quit something, or there's something that you need to do, say less. This is one of the principles that we work from in my programs. Say less. Sometimes that is the boundary, is just saying less and to not be over explaining yourself. Because when you're doing that with the wrong person, you're actually giving them your power to come in and have ways to interject. And so the less you say, the less there is to rebuttal. So that's really important, especially when you're dealing with manipulative partners or people who are not there to have a reciprocal, meaningful conversation or communicate with you in an adult way. The less you say, the more you protect your energy. When you're giving too much, it ends up being really long. And so you can go through and really just probably cut out a lot of that. So when you're first practicing this, I always recommend write it all down, like in your phone notes, what you're going to say to the person, whether it's email, text, or you're going to say it in person. Write it all down, just however it is you feel like you want to say it, or do the voice notes, just speak it into your phone notes. And then look at it and go, okay, so what is the really necessary piece here I need to get across? And what is just fluff? It's my emotion, it's over-explaining. And just delete those things out. And this is a really good practice because it helps you to understand the power in saying less. When you're over-explaining, you're really just seeking permission and approval instead of standing in your power. And it keeps you stuck because it does weaken your presence, and it teaches others to question your decisions or question what you're doing because you're just going on and on. It also, unconsciously to some, even though they may not recognize it, it comes across like self-doubt. So we need to say less. We don't have to go from I need them to get it. And we can believe that I don't need agreement in order to be correct in my own knowing. So we say less, we don't justify, and we let silence do some of the work. And then number 3 is overthinking. If I analyze enough, then I'll feel certain. Who can relate to this one? I am a recovering overthinker. And this is something that my high achieving women and clients definitely go through. And it shows up with running all of the scenarios in your head on repeat. It shows up in second guessing your decisions and waiting for the perfect moment of clarity to take an action. So you just sit in this stagnant place of thinking. It also can show up as worry. So worry thoughts. Worry is just a misuse of our energy. We're miscreating when we are in our fear and worry thoughts. We want to be not fearful of our thoughts, but realizing that our thoughts are creative. Our thoughts create what we have in our body, in our life, in our money, in our life, in our entire existence. Thoughts are energetic. We have to be responsible with the thought loops that we get into and learn how to trip them. We can't control thoughts. You can't stop a thought from coming, but when you notice it's happening, you can stop the pattern. And this is what I teach women how to do so that you don't go into these downward spirals of thinking your way into a low state where you just are mentally fried and you're like doing the social media doom scrolling because you're just like, you overthought your way into nothing. And I certainly have been there. It's something I really have to work on, is getting out of my head and just moving. I've got to move my body. If I'm getting into overthinking, I know that I'm not tapped into my body, actually, that I'm not tapped into my inner knowing, and I'm in my analytical mind way too much. Overthinking is a distrust in your inner knowing. So we have to recognize that, and it can keep you stuck because you are delaying action. You're disconnected from your body, as I just said, and you stay in those mental loops on and on and on and on instead of actually taking real action. And it comes from this place of believing I need certainty in order to move. But really what we need to do is build the self-trust as we go. So we can take action and then adjust. If we're like, okay, this way is not the way. Okay, so now what? And so we just keep tweaking and adjusting, but we don't stay stagnant. So we need to drop into the body and know how to take action from that place. And then the last one is overextending. And overextending comes from the belief that if I give more, then I'll deserve to rest, or then I will X, Y, Z. How this shows up for high achieving women is that we say yes when our body's saying no. How many times have you had that happening? And I'm not talking about like, oh, my body's saying no, I don't want to exercise today. No, you can get up and go for at least a 10-minute walk and do something. And then once you get out, then you're like, oh, this actually feels good. I can keep going. I'm not talking about that. If you are having a day where you're just really not feeling good, like your body, if you have a chronic health issue and you have flares or days where you have a harder time, which I certainly have that, then I listen to my body and I do a lot of self-nurture, and I let that mind chatter go that I should be doing something else. This was a big one for me. Whenever I was doing anything, I always thought I should be doing something else. And if I was resting, I always thought, oh, I could be doing other things. That's gone. That left the building a long time ago. But it shows up with that chronic exhaustion and feeling resentful and also just truly exhausted, right? So I'm just going to keep going. My daughters are making noise. So this is real life. So what this really is, though, is it's overextending that we have tied to our worth. We have tied our worth to our output, what we can do for others or whatever, right? And we've learned that rest, ease, pleasure, fun, relaxation must be earned, that we have to struggle first before we're able to get that. And this really just erodes our sense of self-trust. And it does also train others to expect access and all the goodies that we give freely to anyone and everyone. And it disconnects you from your pleasure and your vitality in life. So these are really big ones. And they're not something you just go, oh, let me quit these today. This is deeply ingrained patterning that we have to break at the emotional, energetic level. We have to look at the thought forms and the beliefs and the stories and the identity we're operating from that causes us to act in these betrayal patterns. And these are things we have to break if we truly want to live emotionally free. And this is what we do inside of the Self-Mastery Inner Circle. This is my new close-knit community for women who have recently left or are leaving a relationship and they want to reclaim their life, up-level their identity, and really expand into that next level on the other side. You can get the information for that by DMing me on Instagram for now, because I don't have the actual sign-up page right now. It was just a private invite only for people who are already in my groups. So I will be putting something out at some point, but right now, if that's something you're like, I want to be part of that, because this work that I just covered today is just a small part of what we're doing in there, then just reach out to me at Awakening Women Official on Instagram and I can get you the info. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. I'll chat with you in the next edition. Bye for now.